Well, hello everybody. How is everybody doing? Are you having a nice week? Are you doing okay? You feeling okay? Is the weather nice where you are? Is it cold? Are you feeling chilly? Well, I'm glad you're here with me. Thank you for being here, everybody. It's that time of the week again. It's Tandy time when we can all come together, hang out, complain about things, celebrate some things, and just be together and have a fine time. So let's see who's here in the chat. We got Top Shot, Hot Shot says, we love Veerman. Boston Base loves the countdown clock. Tandy's asking, can you help me with my fast break fix? I need it in my blood. Yes. Jared's here. Thank you, Jared. Boston Base hates the timer. Everyone hates it except for me. That's accurate. I love the timer. It gives me 5 minutes to get some water, go to the bathroom. You know, I can get set up while that timer's going. That's great. Jared says a Veerman check-in is wonderful. He stacks all the Joe Torns because he can't have my explosions. And Jared with the nice sticker. Thank you, Jared. Thank you very much. Where's my overlay? Where's my sticker? Taking a little while tonight. Ice cream so good. Yum, yum, yum. Yes, yes, yes. Strong woman. Grrr. Thank you, Jared. All right. Perfect Cereal's here as well. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we have a very special guest. We have Steve Veerman. He's been on the show a few times, and he promised some interesting takes today. I mean, we're going to talk about fast break. I feel like fast break is the topic du jour. There's never been so much activity around something around NBA Top Shot that I can remember in quite a long time compared to this fast break game. And that's why we are talking about it again. And if there's other things you guys want to talk about, just throw them in the chat. We'll talk about them. They can be tangentials as well if you'd like. But I see Steve is here, but I don't see his camera. So Steve, just turn your camera on so I know. There you are. Okay. I know that he's here. I know that he's not in the bathroom. So let's bring Steve on. Let's give him a little throwback and let's bring Steve on.
Classic.
Yeah, gets better every time. Thank you for being here, Steve. I see you're all geared up. You got some custom gear on. I take it that's your printed gear.
You know, I don't appear that often on these shows anymore, so I figured, like, why not show all the things I have?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you got a lot of things. You got videos behind you, your frames, your beautiful frames. Are you running any custom software on those right now?
Not really. I mean, well, this is the infinite objects I got for the Cool Cats
Hmm.
Nine Lives Lounge, but I put the Kawaii moment on it.
Exactly. So you customized it. You hacked it.
I hacked it. It's hacked up. Well, I think it's one of the only hacked infinite objects because I haven't released a tutorial on how to do it. I was like on the fence about doing it because there's a chance you could brick it, and I didn't want people to like brick their infinite objects and be like, Steve, what the hell did you do to me? So
Yeah.
I opted not to do it.
All right. Well, that's cool. I know. I remember one of the other times you were on this show. What was it about? I think you saw early on in the code that there were trade tickets coming or that there were offers coming? It was something that you looked in the
Yeah,
code.
I used to look at the code all the time because it's pretty easy. You can do well, most of the code's public, so you can do like what is called like diffs in the software world, where you basically compare the before and the current to
Yeah.
see what's changed. And I used to do it all the time when I cared, and now I'm just like, I don't know, I'm a little bit like less engaged with it, so I don't look at the code very often.
Yeah. What else? Well, is it because you have a child, or are there other things that Steve Veerman's interested in? He's about to give us some
Well,
info.
it's mostly the child. I mean, like the baby takes a lot of time and it's great. It's been wonderful. But also Top Shot after like 3.5 years, it's absolutely exhausting.
Well, I guess we can go into that a little bit.
Yeah.
But congratulations on the baby. How old is the baby now?
4.5 months.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's your daughter, right?
Yes.
That's great. I have a daughter as well. She's 11 months, so we're similar, kind of. Although
Yeah.
what is that? 7 months though is quite a big difference. So
Is she wait, what are the milestones that she's crossed recently? Like is she talking yet or walking?
no
Or what's
talking yet. She babbles, she
okay.
smiles, she laughs, she eats pretty well. She eats real food. That's fun. And she's pretty fast in the crawling department. Like she can really get around. And she like holds herself up. So it's sort of like it's bittersweet because the next, because I know this is your first child, right?
Yeah.
And like soon she's gonna start walking, and then it's like you no longer have a baby anymore. Like you don't have this little crawling
Yeah. Well, it's
little
funny.
creature.
I sometimes I stand her up like just as if she could walk, but she can't. And it's like she's a real person. It's like, wow, this is incredible. And it's like a little scary. I'm like, wow, it's like it's gonna come soon. And I am definitely enjoying this time right now.
Yeah, I mean, you know what everyone says. It's the same advice. Just like slow down as much as you can.
Mhm.
Really try to take it in. Take lots of photos and videos, and go like this, Steve. That's how it happens. It goes like this, and then they're 18 or something like. I think that's what people say to me. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
take your time. That's what they say. Uh, anyway, so there's definitely some things we can talk about, Steve. I mean, you are one of the more interesting Top Shot minds because you've been in this thing forever. I mean, and it takes up a lot of attention, takes up a lot of, I don't know, it can stress you out, I suppose, if you're trying to follow everything. I
Yeah.
would actually argue that it's less stressful this series, though. I don't know if you agree or if you disagree, but I think that the lack of, I mean, some people want to see more flash challenges, but I'd argue that flash challenges, while we do need them, are pretty stressful because they're so random and like you just don't know what you're going to need every day of the week.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
whereas this fast break game, I would argue, is a lot more predictable. You just sort of know, oh, I need the best players and this is how it works, and I can use them this many times per week, and so on. And I'd also say that people used to like not know what information was coming out. I mean, when John Boy Beats of the world used to cover Top Shot and not talk about drafting 150 best ball lineups or whatever the hell those people do, that he would say we need regular communication, like we know when it's coming, we know what's happening every week. And I'd argue that they're doing that as well. Like we know Top Shot Tuesdays is a thing. Like the pack drops are on Tuesday, what you're getting, you got your packs, you got your quick rips, you got your whatever. So I think in many ways things are becoming more simplified and actually less stressful, but I'm curious what your feedback is.
Yeah, in some ways it's less stressful, which is good. Um, I think a lot of attention's being put on fast break. Obviously, we can talk a lot about that. Um, but flash challenges was stressful before, I think, because I think you didn't want to miss any of it. Like if it was advantageous to participate, it felt
Right.
stressful not to always watch it, and that was kind of where I was stressed out too, because it's not a good feeling when you just forgot to participate in something and you missed out on like some reward or something. So
Yeah.
I think for flash challenges, that was like a main stressor of like the fear of missing out, or not even fear of missing out, just like missing the thing because you had all the pieces and you just forgot to submit it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it is less stressful with less flash challenges.
Yeah. But what else? I mean, yeah, it sounds like you're a little tired, but I know that mostly that's because of your child. But is there
A
any?
little bit
I
of
mean,
both. I don't know what's more tiring, the Top Shot thing or the baby thing. They both take a lot of energy. But you know what? It's a lot can be said. It has been simplified. I'm really like just talking about fast break.
yeah,
There's lots to say about fast break. Lots of good. There's some bad. And I guess my concern, I know you reached out to me today and you're like, hey, Steve, want to come on? I'm like, yeah, like maybe. But the thing is, you have a lot of great guests on the show. And I feel like, I don't know, I don't always think I'm one of them. I feel like I'm like the 20th best guest. So I don't want to, there's a lot of people I'd rather see on the show. Like I was hoping Vinyls would be on today because I think he was previously scheduled. So I was actually looking forward to it. But no, with fast break, there's lots to say. So I don't know where we can kind of, if you had any direction or what you wanted to kind of focus on or.
Well, we can start, and I mean, I'll just clarify. So Vinyls was going to be scheduled actually last week, but then he couldn't. And you know, I imagine he'll probably be on in the next couple weeks, so he'll be back on. You can be tuning in when that happens. And I wouldn't sell yourself short, Steve. I think you're one of the more interesting guests. I think you have the history of being on this platform, and you can compare and contrast how things used to be and how they currently are. And
Yeah.
you're obviously very, very bought in to this whole thing. And so,
In
yeah,
for a penny, in
don't
for a
sell
pound.
yourself.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm all the way in. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm digging myself out of the hole. You know, keep going. I'll eventually I'll make a tunnel and get out somehow.
Yeah, there's tunnel stories on Twitter that are weird, but we won't go into that. I don't know if you heard about that. Actually, did you hear about that? I guess I'll just talk about it for a second.
I
Like,
heard about one in New York that happened a couple
yeah,
days
what
ago.
is going on with that? I mean, like,
I
I don't
don't
want to
know.
like.
A part of me, like a couple of years ago, there was one in Toronto too that happened, and it ended up being like there was like a big like conspiracy. It was like, oh, like why is there a big tunnel? And it ended up being like two guys who just wanted to like dig a tunnel for fun, and like ended up being blown out of proportion. But I don't know. I mean, tunnels are kind of fun. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Those Hasids can be pretty weird. Those Hasids. I don't know if you've ever like. When I was living in Brooklyn, I lived across the street from like a Hasid neighborhood, and it's just a completely different world. But whatever they're doing with that tunnel, I don't know. It seems a little weird, a little sketchy. I don't know. I don't know. I don't like the
Yeah,
look of it.
I don't really comment too much on it, but like I think that the main thing about tunnels, you just don't want to inadvertently cause like structural issues to your neighbors. And I think that's why
Yeah,
the city was
exactly.
involved, is because you know you think you're building something, you know, maybe to code or something, but if you don't have the approval and if you don't have engineers on it, then this could collapse on everyone. It could kill people or whatever. Like
Exactly.
there are rules for a reason.
Exactly. The Chassid's got to tone it down. But anyways, we got a little nice sticker here from Boston Base. He's saying that you're bumming him out. But ice cream so good. Would you like to give the crowd an ice cream so good,
Ice
Steve?
cream
Go
so
ahead.
good, yum yum yum. Is that
All
right?
right. Yep, you did it. Great. Great job. Thank you. Ice cream so good. Thank you, Boston Base. Yeah, so why don't we start I don't know. You want to start with things that you're liking? What are you
Yeah,
enjoying right now? I mean, it could be about fast break or anything else. What are you
I'm
enjoying?
enjoying the simplification, as you said, less flash challenges. It seems to be on a more regular cadence now with like even the pack releases and everything. It's just there's a regular cadence, and if it's predictable, like there's a part of that that's really good because you're just not all stressed out. You like some element of predictability.
Yeah.
Um, Things I like too. I was a very vocal complainer before about leaderboards.
Mm,
I felt like they were too were too weighted for a lot of the early adopters. I didn't
yeah.
think they made sense before, and I like the idea of using weighted leaderboards. I get less rewards, but I feel like it's to like the it's to the betterment of like the people actually participating. Like I feel like
Exactly.
you should have a shot at something, and then weighted leaderboards make sense to me because you have a better shot as you climb, but you're not guaranteed anything. And I think that's probably a more healthier way to look at it. And
Yeah.
so I think they've done a better job of that. So that like, I'll give them a huge kudos on that part.
Hmm.
Um, what else is good here? I mean, there's lots to say. I like that just they kept the sets, I think, fairly simple. They've outlined what sets I think we're going to have, which is nice. Some things that kind of caught me off by surprise recently was the archive set.
Mm.
Like we just finished an archive set in October or November. I don't even know when it closed. And then they basically launched another archive set. Can you name the players in the new archive set?
I think I got a few in my recent
Name
Santa drop.
name one archive player from the current set, the new archive set.
I think CJ McCollum has an archive moment.
In the current one? Okay. I don't even know. Like they haven't put out any. They have put out no blog about the current set. So it's weird to me how they drop a set and they don't even talk about it. It's like historical moments used to mean something, used to be special. They used to be like used to have a story attached to it.
Yeah.
And now it's just like they're dumping it and like buy it. It's like, well, where's the story? Like sell me on it.
Mm.
And that part's a little frustrating. But besides that, I think they did tidy up the sets. It's a little more consistent. This new MGLE drop, I think it's good. I like the idea that the best rewards are the challenge. Sorry, the best moments are the challenge rewards. I think that's really smart.
Agreed.
The fact they made Wemby like they're this master challenge concept. I like how they brought it back. It's an insane thing. Like if you want to participate in it, you have to know what you're signing up for because going back to Cool Cats, the master challenge, you are like pot committed for like the entire season to finish this thing. Right. So it can get really expensive. And if there happens to be like some bottleneck at some point, and I feel like there is with any master challenge, you're setting yourself up for someone's going to bottleneck something at some point in time. And when that happens, it's going to cause a lot of frustration and people are going to overspend or whatever. And so, it is what it is, but it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Buyer beware. What do you think how do you think a bottleneck will occur actually? Because they're all the same. With the Cool Cats,
It's really simple. It's really simple bottleneck things on Top Shot. And I'm surprised people haven't done it.
Just like you get a group together and just buy up something, or
it's super easy. Like you need a minimal amount of money. And I'm going to say it here and someone's going to do it. It's like you need a minimal amount of money and you pick the cheapest moment. That's like whatever, the least wanted moment, and you just buy them all.
Yeah.
So you buy 60 of them at $30 a pop or $40. I don't know, it costs you whatever, $1,000 or whatever. And it's like all of a sudden no one can do it anymore. And everyone has to pay you $500 for that moment you just paid $30 for. It's like, oh, bum. That like boom, that's the entire. And I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often, but it will with this idea of a master challenge. Like it's gonna happen. Someone's gonna I think it happened. People try to attempt it with like the last run it back, the Origins, they bottlenecked the Jaylen Brown moment.
I think Boston Base bought like 30 of those.
And it's fun. The thing is he picked a really top tier moment to bottle, and that's hard to do because you're basically it's so costly to do that. But if you just pick the cheapest, most throwaway moment, then it's like the easiest thing to do. And so someone's going to obviously do this because I just said it. But like eventually that's what's going to happen, and that's my one complaint with the way it's currently structured is it sets this up so that someone can basically ruin everyone's day.
Well, Eddie Dunk seems to disagree. He thinks $2.99 is too high to try and bottleneck. I mean, I guess the question is,
I don't agree at all. Like here, let's look at the cheapest moment here.
Because don't you think if you're holding some of those or you're holding them, other people are holding, and the price starts spiking, then wouldn't you just sort of list it? Like, oh, wow, I can make a crazy return right now. And then it'll just sort of find its balance.
I mean, maybe, but I'm just saying so the cheapest moment right now for MGLAs is a Brook Lopez at $60, right? Mm-hmm. The most expensive moment is Keegan Murray, 188. So basically it's like a 3-to-1 ratio. So you can stack a ton of these Brook Lopez. And you know what? I would bet a bunch of these are in packs too. So you don't even have to buy that many. And it would just basically, it would be very bad. Like how many are listed right now? Let's see how many are listed. Brook Lopez is. Let's see here. Anyways, I know a lot of people think it won't happen, but I'm saying it can. There's only 17 listed. Like, okay, so you buy all 17. It's not a lot. It's like, then what? People are going to be,
other people list.
Well, other people list, but then they're a little more careful because they don't know when you're going to stop buying, right? So it's like this weird. I've seen these like, whether these are the floor smashes or whatever, but it's different when you're chasing like a master challenge or something, and the pieces are required. Like even in this Brook Lopez, for instance, how many are still in packs?
So hold on. Eddie's giving you some homework. Check out Faldo with Claxton. He swept up and then undercutters came back out.
Yeah. So like so I see users like Faldo and he's almost there because I can see it. I'm like, oh, is he doing the thing? But you got to stay fully committed to it. It's where you can't waver. If you're after that moment, you basically got to go all in on that moment, and you stack it, and that's it. And you own it. It's like in series 1, we had Carlini. He stacked all these Derrick Rose from the top moments because they were the cheapest moment in the set. So he bought them all up at like $100 or $200 for his legendaries. And so he owned, I think they were like 59 minted. He owned something like 50 of the 59.
Wow.
It's like, so then what are you going to do? Like, if you want to finish this set, you have to buy it from him. And that's why for the longest time, it was like the only moment on Top Shot that was basically consistent $1 million floor, because he was the only one who was going to list it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum.
Yeah. Anyways, it's not the biggest problem. It's not the biggest challenge. I'm just saying that, like, master challenges, we've done them before, and they've kind of ended partially in heartbreak. I'm not saying that they're a bad thing. I like them. I enjoy them. But, like, it's almost like rolling the dice here to see how this goes, because it could go, again, someone's day could be ruined.
I think at the very least, we know first of all, it's not like Cool Cats where the circulations were different, if that makes any difference.
No,
and secondly, it's very unlikely that in the middle of that master challenge, we're going to see a crazy, or whatever it was, a crazy supply crunch all of a sudden. And then, it just totally distorts the values and it's, or not even that, but we're not going to see massive changes, because actually the supply crunch happened before Cool Cats started. You're not going to see massive ecosystem changes where all of a sudden they, decide they're going to very much change their strategy and how many packs they release or anything like that. Or we're not going to see that. So I think for those reasons, it's probably less likely that we're going to see any just crazy swings like we saw on the Cool Cats Master Challenge. And I imagine that they've also learned their lesson and they've heard feedback. And I think the whole 9 Lives Lounge thing was sort of a reaction to a whole lot of people literally licking their wounds like a cat, and saying, like, I'm really upset about how this just went down. And that, I think that was part of what
I agree with you mostly, that this is it's unlikely to get to that level. What I'm saying, though, is that it could get to a level where it's uncomfortable, where maybe a moment was previously $30 and now it's like, $330.
Yeah.
So it could make someone really uncomfortable, or like, make people participate a bit less. But it's not the biggest problem. That's not my biggest concern. It was basically almost a one-off mention here.
Okay. Well, that's why we spent as long as we could on it.
I know we did. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But anyway, what else? You want to talk about Fast Break? You want to talk about or is there anything else that you're concerned about?
Yeah, I mean, like, that's like the least of my concern. I know we spent the last 10 minutes talking, but it's like the least of my concern. Whatever. This is just like us chit-chatting. But for the most, so Fast Break, it's a really polished product. I like Fast Break. I think fundamentally, Top Shot has to be a fun platform first. I think the question I ask myself is, like, would I tell a friend about Top Shot today? No, I probably wouldn't. Like, that's insane coming from someone like me who's been in this for 3.5 years. I don't think it's very fun. I still think it's like it can be very stressful. And I think it's a money pit. Like, the money you put in, you'll probably never see ever. Like, I've accepted I'll probably never see this money that I put into it. So in that way, it is an awful investment. Now, Fast Break, is it fun? I think it is. I think that's like the foundation you have to build from. It has to be a fun product. Where I'm a little bit like concerned these days is it seems to be taking up the bulk of the attention. I think I've noticed there's a bunch of different parts of the collecting experience that have almost taken a back seat. So it's like, I don't want Dapper to pat themselves on the back too quickly and say, well, Fast Break, this is great, like, we're done. The reality is, job's not finished. There are still parts of Fast Break that are, I think, there are parts that could be fixed, like the idea of team reels. Like, where do team reels fit in? So last season, if you remember, team reels were really important because they were the aspirational moments that you got from being on a team leaderboard. So throughout the season, they would take snapshots and you get like a clamps moment or a fit check rare, or at the very end, it was like the season rewind legendary. So the season rewind legendary is a good one. It's like, it was minted to 50, right? You got you had parallels in there, but it was a rare for your team. This cost thousands of dollars to earn, to be in the top 50 of a leaderboard. You can go and buy a Brooklyn Nets legendary team moment for $99. It's a legendary. Like, it's because you can't use it in any game. Where does this fit in into like the grand scheme of this map, like of this game? Like there are pieces here where if, and even in the game, like there's no mention of moments themselves. There's just players, right?
Mhm.
And so I think it's creating a bit of a disconnect between the ownership and the moment and the thing that we're like proud and happy to own and like the showing it off. Like you're just picking players' heads out of a profile picture and clicking next and submit. Like it only mentions moments by like tiers. It's basically boiled down all of our ownership into owning something based on tier. It doesn't care about the game it was from or the series it was from or any historical significance. It just boils down your ownership into a tier. So I think that's a bit sad. It's like, wait a minute, like I'm all for the game. I'm all for this inconsistent engagement on a daily basis. I think it's great. But I think you still have to build around this idea of us celebrating NBA history. And this is what the thing I can't reconcile is they tell us on one hand, like celebrate and own NBA history, but at the same time, historic moments can't be used in this game. So if you're collecting Shaq or D Wade, you can't use these moments in this game. It's like these are top tier players. Why can't I? It's because they're not a current player from this season with a notable stat. And that's what it all boils down to. It's like it's a little bit of an oversimplification to the detriment, I think, of the collecting experience. And I think right now we're at a point where if people are being funneled to buying legendaries and rares for this game, it's a little bit dangerous now where you're basically Dapper is in a position where they're basically picking winners for like the current class of players, and everyone else takes a backseat. Team Reals take a backseat. Historicals take a backseat. And I think that's not healthy for the platform. And I think this has been a lot of it's been a contentious issue just in the whole gamification of Top Shot is like making sure Dapper doesn't pick winners inadvertently. And I think they very much are.
How would you compare that kind of sentiment to, for example, like Moment Ranks Play or other games similar to it, which did exist before this? Do you think that? How do you compare the two actually? Like, how do you compare? Is it just such a night and day situation because this game is on Top Shot, or how would you compare your concerns around the way this game works with how like previous games were working that people were playing?
Yeah, well, this is like a native Top Shot experience. This is the main point of difference. Is truthfully, I didn't really play Moment Ranks. Like I didn't because it was not. Well, my time is just like I focus it on like certain. It's a bit limited, so I focus it on certain things. So if I want to collect things, I'm just collecting. I'm not going to be playing games and whatever. Like even with Fast Break, it's great, but like there were some days I just forgot to submit my lineup because the game started at like 12 noon or something. And I'm like, oh, I log in at 1 o'clock and it's like, oh, I already missed the shit, So like there were a couple of those days where I just forgot to submit. It's not that I even lost, I just forgot. And so for me, and that's a native experience. So Moment Ranks wasn't even native. So I had to change my behavior to go to a website that I wouldn't normally go to. So it's I think it's a bit of an apples and oranges comparison. But I do think, from what I've seen, Fast Break is great, but I'm a little bit concerned that like they're just patting themselves on the back too quickly because there's still a lot of work to be done. And I just don't want them to basically say, well, this is great, we'll keep it the way it is and just, come back to us in a year from now and maybe make a change. Like I really hope they're taking like a lot of this feedback to heart. Even with the idea of tiered Fast Break, right? Where maybe you have to burn a moment, maybe you have to lock a moment. I think these are like maybe they are important concepts to underline or underscore like the ownership component of these moments. Otherwise, like everyone's just buying a $1 moment and they get this. I've seen a lot of crazy pack pulls recently, and I think that's great. But if this is just a game to like, I don't know. I just want people to be committed to these pieces if they're actually owning them, and locking or whatever is a good way to do it. And I don't know. Anyways, I've said a lot about the game element, but there are things to work on.
Yeah, I think that there's others who also share the way you're feeling, and I think it's the fact that this platform it offers itself as a collectible and also currently as like a game, and I think those two things are maybe clashing a little bit at the moment, and like and I think that if we were, and I think I said this last week, but like if we were at more of like a critical mass of users, let's say, then it's possible that you'd have a bunch of users who just want to collect and want that shack, and you'd have a bunch of users who want to play the game. And like you'd have enough people who really enjoy games, you'd have enough people who really just enjoy buying and storing it like they do with physical cards. And I think that's sort of my take on it. And I also think that, although I hear you and I hear others who also say like, yeah, but what about the archives? What about the retired players? What about like the team things? My concern with that is like, does it then make things a whole lot more confusing? Where, then if you were to start playing this game, it's like, oh wait, you have to have like a team reel to like submit your lineup, or like I just think that might be
It's
a little confusing.
fair point. I'm in line with you. Like, I don't want this to be overly complex. It should be basically as simple as it is right now. My issue is maybe it's a little too simple. With we don't even talk about moments anymore in this game. It's like you can basically play fast break and technically like have no idea of any of the underlying moments. Like, it's just so you are so far removed from the element itself, sorry, the moment, that it's I don't know, it's a little worrisome. And I don't know if I feel like they're leaning all in at this point on fast break. So it almost feels like the collecting side is just taking a huge backseat at this point. And I don't know. I'm a little worried. Again, I'm cautiously optimistic. I love fast break. I want this thing to succeed. I just don't want them to.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I would also just, I think that since we're so plugged in, that like a 3-week game feels like it's, it's been there for 3 years. Or not 3 weeks. It's actually 6 weeks technically. But like 3 game runs, or whatever you want to talk about, or what you want to call it. One interesting comment was from Ryan, aka Top Shot Yoda, who said the whole idea is that it works in tandem. And I think that's like ideally is how this works. And one thing I would also say about what you said is like how it's sort of disconnected from the moments. I think there's probably like little design tweaks they could make so that you still get to experience these moments. Like perhaps the winning lineup of the night, it's presented and it shows the moments in some kind of reel, or I don't know. I'm not sure.
No. That's exactly what they should be doing. Like think about it this way. Your lineup, it should be a shareable thing. You should be able to share it, and it should make sense to someone who isn't familiar with Top Shot. Like, oh yeah, like you made this highlight reel, and that's like my lineup for tonight is like this highlight reel of dunks or whatever. I just don't think right now it's like it's not where it needs to be for it being like a shareable thing that underscores the moments themselves. I think it should always tie back to that, and it should work in tandem 100%. Right now, I feel like it's just almost, it's not, like it's broken. It's like, as a collector, I've been here for 3.5 years. It's like it feels like it's going a little bit too much on one side, and I've seen parts of the collecting experience either broken or just neglected. I've seen it. I put in requests from 6-7 months ago for like small little, simplest little quality of life improvements. It's like falls on deaf ears. And previously they'd be more actionable. So all that says to me is one, two things. They could be understaffed, right? And two, they're just the dev energy like is going mostly, I think, towards fast break. And I mean, that's great, but I think it's possible it could be to the detriment of other parts of this platform. And then there's a lot of people that still just collect. Like, they might not be interested in fast break. They just want to build their collections, and because they enjoy the highlights or whatever, right? So I just don't want them to go too far in one direction where they've forgotten why people are here to begin with.
Yeah. Again, like I think that's been sort of the conversation of like the Mike Levy's of the world of collecting versus gamification. And that's something that is it's kind of challenging to totally get right. And I think that it really is something where you just sort of need more people who just like to collect, because right now probably it's just more attractive. This is the shiny new thing. It's like the exciting new game. These recent packs, 2 runs ago when it was still in beta, the fast break, and it was a limited amount of players that were playing, but I think it was still like 500 people. I don't know how many, but the amount of people who got 12 wins, who got these like really nice packs, I think it was like under 5. I think it was like 2 people or something like that. And then because of how the ball bounces, the next run, there's like 500 people who get 12 wins. So it's going to be this thing of like constant adjusting and correction. And so like right now it feels very juiced and everyone's like, holy crap, like I can do that with $1 moments and pull a legendary. Like, okay, that's where I'm going. But like I would be shocked if things are not adjusted as we move forward. And so like
I'd hope so, right? And but here's the thing: is we've seen before where we think the adjustment is obvious and it should be done, and it's not done. So this is why I think it's important to just mention it, because it should be on the docket. We should know that it is being adjusted and it's a concern. Otherwise, they'll come back at this a year from now and be like, oh yeah, maybe we should look at that. It's like, no, we've raised this flag a long time ago.
yeah.
So
Well, in terms of I think in terms though of like difficulty, for example, you will see that literally run to run. Like if it's the same thing the next week, it's probably because it was too hard the previous week. You know, like you're never gonna see 500 people get the most juiced packs, and then the next run it stays exactly the same, unless they just have such a surplus of like awesome moments to just give people who play this game. But I'd be pretty surprised. I'm like, if I was like betting man, I'd say that things are probably going to get more challenging in the next fast break run. But yeah, I definitely sympathize with this idea and how things do sort of change, and sometimes you're collecting a certain way and then it completely changes, and that obviously feels bad. And yeah, I'm hopeful that nothing like that happens moving forward again.
well, I mean, look at last season. We were promised like crafting challenges, right? We've been talking about crafting challenges for 3 years. And last season, we were promised like vintage vibes crafting challenges. So how vintage vibes is, they released the blog post on this. It was going to require 2021 archive moments to burn. They said this, like, stack your moments, get ready, because we're going to do vintage vibes crafting. And then a couple of weeks later went by and they said, you know what? The moments aren't very good for vintage vibes. We're just going to postpone it. And then a few months went by and it was like just silently killed. In the meantime, lots of people bought archive moments that what can they do with them now? Like this crafting, which was previously an outlined feature, it doesn't seem to be there anymore. So that was just from last season. Like this is post Jane. This isn't like, you can only point to her so long. It's like, this is after that. You guys said this, and it's still not like. So I'm a little disappointed in the consistency here and how quickly they're willing to change, because fast break might be great now. And it's like, oh, next year it's something else. And like, why do you abandon these things? Why do you push these things out and then say they're coming and people make decisions based on them? And then you move the goalposts, and that's what it kind of feels like in some cases.
Yeah.
Like trade tickets is a good one too. Like we were promised, like after like the Series 1 reserve packs, obviously were like the hottest commodity. People stacked their trade tickets, but we were told that don't worry, after this is done, we'll have lots of things for trade tickets. You can use them to buy whatever on the platform. I think a lot of us are sitting on tons of trade tickets. I think the reality is we're accumulating trade tickets much faster than we can spend them. Secret Santa is a good example. Lots of us basically traded in trade tickets, those gifts to Secret Santa, and we basically got back trade tickets. So now we're sitting on, like lots of us are sitting on hundreds and hundreds, possibly thousands, possibly 51,000. How many 51,000 possibly trade tickets in your collection?
Oh my God. Hold on, Steve, did you submit 51,000?
No. I'm just playing with you. I submitted 474 trade tickets. Basically,
wow, that's a lot still. Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. But and I got back like a rare that was like $8, which I'm happy with. Whatever, it was fun to participate. I liked it. But what I'm getting at is like there seem like fewer opportunities to spend trade tickets, and I think that's a huge concern, because we were again told that these had some value to them, like something that you could use them. And then actually this last drop from yesterday, I think it was. That was the first time all season I've queued up every single time for trade ticket packs. Yesterday was the first time all season I actually managed to buy one. So they do have these trade ticket packs, but there aren't enough. Like it's it's almost laughable. I think they're doing it so they can have a checkbox that says, "Oh, we had the trade ticket packs." It's like, that's not enough. Like, people have too many. Like, what? Again, it's like a consumer confidence thing where you shouldn't sell something if you're not going to support it. Like, I fundamentally believe that for any product. So if you're saying that you believe these things are worth $1 or something near it, then you should be able to support that with like some other thing that, and if you tell us that these trade tickets are usable for game tickets or something, then you should make that possible. And I feel like there's just been a lot of, well, not a lot of, but no communications in that regard. And just on the communications aspect, I feel like it's gotten better generally, but then, this whole like pack rip thing, I think that's a loss too. Like, so we're going to have less communications now. Like, I don't know. That's a bit concerning, and I get they're trying to probably do a little bit of reset to keep costs down or whatever, but it's like, well, communications was improving. We weren't quite there yet. And now you're going to let go of the communications guys. I don't know if that makes complete sense. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of trade tickets, I would agree with you that I think we did previously believe that there would be more usage of trade tickets. I think we dreamed of having like trade ticket store on the website and be able to buy gear, be able to buy league pass, or even with this Secret Santa thing, I think it would have been cool if like, well, I don't know, maybe if like the odds were more difficult and you could hit a rare, but then you might not get back as many other trade tickets back, or I don't know, something like that. But I would agree with you that that we were told in the past. But yeah, but at the same time, the environment changes, funding changes, runways change, focuses change. That's like the hardest part,
I
I
think
think.
I have easy fixes for this though. Like, they're already there. Here's the frustrating part is I feel like
Yeah.
Dapper is so close. Here's the easy fix. So you know how they do these leaderboards for, like they did the leaderboards for MGLE packs. They did one a couple days ago for like the top 75 people on this MGLE leaderboard, right? This burn leaderboard. Okay. Hear me out. Instead of 75 packs for top, you make it 50. Then you do 25 packs for whoever burns the most trade tickets.
Yeah.
Like, then it's a trade ticket leaderboard. And the thing is that is an opportunity that's completely neglected that I think needs to exist. Because it's not just about Top Shot score. They've made it entirely that, and they have neglected this trade ticket thing, which it's still a part of the platform. So they should absolutely just allocate an existing part of whatever they had for leaderboards for Top Shot score, just a chunk, whatever, 10%, 20%, just chop it off. And that is now trade ticket burn leaderboard. And whoever burns the most gets it. People might go crazy. They might burn 1,000 trade tickets for a single MGLE pack. Like, that's acceptable in my opinion. That's it, because if people want to do that, that's fine. People overburn for packs all the time. Why not overburn with trade tickets?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think what motivates these burn boards in a big way is the focus on rares and legendaries, which is like, because I remember they've been talking about this since the days of Janie, which is like, we want the higher floors to rise. Like,
yeah, and it hasn't worked.
Right.
So I mean, like, I'm telling you right now that they keep saying it, and it's like, I feel like I'm banging my head against a desk because it's been 3 years of them saying it. I'm saying, do all the things. They don't have to. There's no reason why you can't do both.
Yeah, you're right.
When given the choice, do both options. Don't stop what you're doing, but just carve off a sliver and let the people who have trade tickets just spend them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Dumbo, by the way, was in the chat saying something.
Yeah, don't pay attention.
If you have some still not addressed, feel free to DM them over. They might just have been missed.
I'll DM him. The thing is, I know Dumbo's on the flow team now, so I don't bother him with my Top Shot questions. And I know Vinyls, he is so busy. Like, I almost feel bad messaging Vinyls because the guy is just so busy that I don't want to take up his time, but I just don't know who to talk to anymore for a lot of these I used to have these like lists of quick wins of like, oh, if you add this link here, like it'll improve the way I navigate through the site or whatever. And I just don't even know who to forward that to anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there are some programmers. I actually messaged him one of them the other day about my little red notification dot. I'm like, can you please add like a mark all as red button? Like I'm tired of clicking everything to get that dot to go away.
I've had that dot for years. I mean, I feel like it's the everything is okay dot. If that goes away, then I think something's broken.
Well, Dumbo's saying you can message him night or day from the bathtub, wherever you want to message him, and he will forward it to the right person.
Yeah, no, Dumbo's solid. He's always like immediate with the feedback, and but yeah, I don't want to. I feel like he's on the flow team. I don't want to bother him with my Top Shot problems.
Well, I think you're a very important what's the word? VIP. You're a very important person. So I think you can probably get away with some bothering.
Yeah, I guess.
All right. Well, what else we want to cover, Steve? I feel like
I know we've talked about a lot. Let's see here.
We've talked about the collecting and the gaming.
Let's talk about I mean, I might have missed it probably in the last. I mean, the holidays between the holidays and the baby, I feel like I'm a bit disconnected with Twitter and Top Shot. Did you participate in Secret Santa? I mean, if so, what'd you get back? Anything good?
No.
Okay.
But that's okay. I mean, the previous Secret Santa, I did get something. I actually did get some decent stuff on the previous year. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's like a harmless thing, but I do wish that there was something more than just trade tickets for trade tickets. I think that's a little. I think it could be a little more interesting than that.
I was hoping that like Dapper recognized that all these collectors getting back moments would likely just be getting back trade tickets, and that there'd be some massive burn event like immediately following, so that we could get rid of them. But that hasn't happened yet. I'm still hopeful. Maybe it'll happen.
Yeah, I think Drew actually made that comment about something about like putting the Christmas log fires or something for the trade tickets, or
a Yule log.
Yeah, that would have been great. That would have made a lot of sense. A little Yule log burn. And I really like your idea about having burn boards and including commons, including trade tickets.
I'm just saying, do all the things, because it does rub me the wrong way when I see like rares and legendary only. It's like, come on, there are a lot of valuable commons. Like even just last season, we had some very valuable commons with playoffs, right? Like some of these moments got really expensive, and some of them still are expensive. It's like, you're picking, a lot of these moments are much more expensive than rares, and we can't use them for burning. I don't know. It just seems off. And I know they said, they're trying to make the rares more scary. It's like, that hasn't worked. Stop doing that. I mean, don't stop doing it. Sorry. Stop doing that exclusively and start doing something else too. Right. Yeah.
Well, Stan Loves wants the handshake. I feel like all this conversation definitely deserves beta. So let's give beta.
Beta.
I should have just kept interrupting you when you were complaining about certain things with that clip. And then this is for you, Stan Loves. We'll give you a little handshake.
So, I appreciate it. Yeah, man, that was awkward. Fist bump. Don't clip that. Don't clip that. Just gonna clip that. It's gonna go viral. Jesus Christ. No, I appreciate it. It was weird.
Love it. I don't think anyone's ever seen the judge since that clip. I think he was just so embarrassed that he just stopped, after that clip. That was it.
I know. I keep texting the judge, honestly, like every few months. I'm like, Judge, you coming back on stream or what? And he actually responds like once every, I don't know, 5 months. But, he used to love having you on the show, Steve. He called you his best friend.
He's ghosted me. I've reached out to him so many times. Just like, just nothing. Like, okay, well.
That's what they say. Don't meet your heroes.
Yeah, I don't know. What's interesting, because we've been here long enough where we've gone through a lot of good times and bad times. And I just like to think that, like, I don't know, I've made some friends along the way. And I don't know, like, the ghosted thing doesn't really make you feel great. It's like, oh shit, maybe I misinterpreted that one, No,
it is. Judge, I don't really know what to say, because I don't know him personally. But I don't know. He's trying to make it work. He's working for Super.
I know. He was killing it before, and I was really encouraged by the work that he was putting through with what was that, Super Draft, right?
Yeah.
And Yeah, I don't know. In a different timeline, maybe it would work out. But I mean, a bunch of things were working against him.
Right.
But anyways, I wish him well. I think he might be in Vegas still. Hopefully, I don't even know where he's at right now.
Yeah. One day he'll make his comeback, I think,
Yes.
and he'll apologize to everyone. Yeah. What about this, Steve? What about that big trade that just happened? Knicks and Raptors. What do you think about this trade? Quickly.
Oh, I think it was great. Like, so OG is amazing. And I think a lot of people who didn't follow the Raptors just didn't understand how good OG was. OG is just such a solid. He's like a stone cold killer. This guy, even on Top Shot, one of his best moment was when he hit like a corner three in the playoffs. I think he was against the Celtics. And like, if you pay close attention to that moment, he hits the shot and then he doesn't even celebrate. He's just like, just stone faced, just walking off. Like that's his, like, it's like his day job, He just, and Lowry's going crazy in the moment, but he's just there to get the job done. And he is just such a good player, so consistent. So for me, I love seeing him get some flowers in New York. I like Quickly's obviously a great player. I love to see that RJ's home here in Toronto. So I think all around, I think this was a win-win for both teams.
Yeah. The Raptors, I mean, they're still not doing so hot. They're 4-6 in their last 10. They are.
Yeah, but then you get weird situations. Did you see this Lakers? The rant by the Raptors coach against the.
Yeah, I love the rant. I don't know why people are being mean about the rant because it made a lot of sense, and I think that we're already seeing that there is some tomfoolery going on with refereeing in the NBA. That's been happening for a long time. There was even that story recently that sort of got swept under the rug about LeBron's Rich Paul, who was like betting on games and like, oh no, LeBron had nothing to do with that. Like, oh yeah, okay, sure. And and so then LeBron obviously faces the league and his team gets 30 free throws in the fourth and the Raptors get 2. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. And then we saw it just now in the Celtics game versus the Pacers where, the Pacers end up winning the game after Buddy Hield smacks Jaylen Brown in the back of the head. And this ref from Indiana says like, no foul. It's like, well, okay, something's not right here. Anyway.
Yeah, hey, I agree with you, but I like the idea of coaches kind of calling it out. Obviously it's one of those things that's feels like it's out of bounds. Like people can't talk about it. Like the players can't talk about it. The coaches can't talk about it. Otherwise they get fined. But I like that our guy was talking about it. Like Darko, he seems like he seems like he's got a good persona, good personality with him, and I like the fire that he was spitting. Like, yeah, he was just right on the money. And he was like, if that's the kind of party it's going to be, then let us know ahead of time, and we're not going to show up.
I know, that was definitely the best line. It's like, if you guys are going to rig the game, just let us know. We won't even dress. It's great. What about? I got another little NBA related thing. Draymond Green.
Yeah.
What is going on with Draymond Green and his podcast? And so I don't know if you saw that clip, but so for those who don't know, and I'm sure everyone knows, but Draymond Green gets suspended after he had someone in a headlock and he got suspended. And by the way, it also apparently he always like beats up on like smaller white European players. Also, apparently that someone came up with that little data point.
Yeah, that's not necessarily true. He's definitely gone after other people too, but yeah.
Sabonis was bigger than him and he stomped on his chest.
Yeah.
I mean, he kicked about half the league in the nuts. So anyway, so then he gets suspended. They're like, you got to work on yourself, Draymond. You got to go to classes, figure this whole thing out so you can be the best player you can be. What a weird story though, because then it's like Steve Kerr says he goes to his house, they're both weeping in each other's arms. and then Draymond, so okay, that he's supposed to work on himself and come back to his team, that team that needs him, even though the Warriors are kind of like dog doo-doo right now. But then he says, first of all, two interesting things. The first thing he says is, I was really thinking about retiring. I really thought like I had enough. I wanted to retire, which I think is the most immature, like childish thing I've ever heard. Like, you are having a break from your job playing basketball because you're kicking too many people in the nuts and putting people in headlocks, and you're like, no, I can't do that anymore. I think I'm just gonna have to give it up.
Yeah, it's like I can't play this game without kicking people in the nuts. Like, don't make me choose. Like, if I can't do the thing I love to do, i.e., kick people in the nuts, I don't want to play anymore. It's not the game that I love.
No.
Yeah, it is weird.
And then even worse, in my opinion, and you as a father at this point should understand this as well. He tells this story on his podcast, which at this point I think everything he tells on that podcast is probably a lie. But he says he was sitting in his man cave to try to make it sound cool. In other words, you're sitting in your dark basement, pal. He's sitting in his man cave. He said for 3 straight days. And then finally his 3-year-old FaceTimes him and says, like, Dad, come back upstairs. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, a 3-year-old child needs their mother and father if they're lucky enough to have them both in the house. And like, no, I'm just gonna hang out in the basement. Like, you got to be kidding me. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I didn't catch that part of it, but like, I don't know. Yeah, it does sound. I don't know. And the guy's good at getting like attention. Oh, he always has. Again, you kick people in the nuts, you punch people in the face, you're going to get attention.
Yeah.
So I think he's masterful in that way. And I don't think whether or not he retires or whatever, I think he's always going to be this like attention person. Like he's the main character, right? He's got to always be the main character. So, when he does retire, probably not soon, but when he does, like, I'm sure he'll always try to make himself relevant.
And he probably will, because as someone else mentioned a long time ago, when someone else got stomped on the face or kicked in the nuts, Draymond Green is the Donald Trump of the NBA. He could do anything, and he just comes right back. He's on his podcast. He's on TNT with Shaq and
Shaq is
Charles
so
Barkley.
weird though too. Shaq is like, defending. It's like, oh, you should be able to like kick people on that, or whatever. It's like Shaq is such a weird personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, man, that show's great. I mean, obviously Barkley's like the voice of reason, but Shaq has some weird takes, and I think that's the weird one is like defending Draymond and like punching people in the face or kicking people in the nuts. Like, come on, guy.
And what's weird too is I think Draymond is like Jacob's favorite basketball player, if I'm not mistaken.
What?
Yeah, I mean, maybe he can fact check this one, but I think it's one of his favorite basketball players, if not his favorite basketball player, is Draymond Green. I think he must have seen him when he was on like Michigan State or something like that. And so then I started wondering, like, does Jacob go to the Dapper offices and like kick people in the nuts and punch people in the face? Like,
who's the Draymond Green of the Dapper team? There's got to be one, right? Who's unpredictable and
yeah. Oh man. Anyway, it's always interesting.
I feel like it might be Luke. He's in chat now. Is it Luke?
Yeah, it could be Luke. I think he might be kicking people in the nuts. He says no comment. I think he's probably kicking people in the nuts. Let's see, what else can we cover? I feel like we covered it all. I mean, I don't think you mentioned anything about this. Just taking it back to Fast Break for a second.
Yeah.
But what is your prediction in terms of like the sustainability? Because that is one of my biggest questions that I want to ask finals is like, what makes the game so attractive right now to so many people? It's multifaceted. And of course, this is not taking into consideration anything on the collectible side, even though some people still collect and then still use their pieces in the game. But like, obviously, I don't think it's sustainable for like 500 people to get rares, every week. I feel like they probably have to create some kind of revenue to support that, or like, I don't know. Have you thought about that aspect at all?
Not particularly. I think it's a similar problem they had with flash challenges, where at some point something kind of will break. So, I mean, an easy fix, because of the nature of Fast Break, everything's based on points, and maybe even rankings. So maybe there'll be tiebreakers. Maybe only top whatever will get the reward.
Yeah,
I think there are easy ways to fix that. Versus like flash challenges is like, well, where's the tiebreaker? There really isn't any. So I think that's where it becomes more difficult. Just for Fast Break, I did want to mention, I didn't mention it earlier, but like on the good with Fast Break that I really, really like is I think fundamentally it's an educational kind of platform for NBA because you log on every day and you basically learn something new. You learn because it's the way it's sorted with stats. You learn who the current leaders are for any particular stat. And some names might surprise you. I know on my end, when I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that this player was averaging this number. It's like, oh, fascinating. And I think that's the cool part because when I was a kid, I remember reading the back of the trading card and being like the stats. And I feel like this is kind of a weird parallel to that, where like every day you're kind of seeing the stat, and it's like, so over time, I think you are learning more about the players, and I really like that. So I think that's a really positive place to start. And I think you just kind of build out from there, keeping it simple, somehow incorporating a team. Maybe you pick a team that has the highest points of the night, and maybe that's your archive moment. You pick a team and keeping it really simple. But I think they're almost there. You just got to put a little more work into it. Job's not done, but it's a good start.
Yeah, and I would that's a really good point, and I actually completely forgot about those days of looking at the back of the card and like looking how they did the previous season and that's so true. And I totally didn't realize that, but that is so true. I think there are when I play, I have that same experience. And the other thing I would say is I am looking at box scores and like tracking games in a way that I haven't done in years. And I wasn't really doing that when I was getting my feet wet on like So Rare, for example, because I don't know. I find that sort of holistic fantasy doesn't quite interest me as much. Whereas it's like, oh, tonight it's rebounds. Like who are going to be the players that are going to get all these rebounds tonight? And you're literally just looking at the play-by-play, looking at the box score, like, oh, I can't believe the guard just got that rebound. How did it not go to the center? The center was right there under the hoop. Like it's connecting me to the game in that way and making it really interesting to follow in a more healthy way when I compare when I used to like gamble on sports, that was way less healthy. This is way more healthy. And I think that's really important too. It's really tied into the games every night. And also, I don't know if I already said it, but I haven't seen this kind of a movement for anything related to NBA Top Shot really ever. Like, I don't think I've ever seen something directly tied to NBA basketball and shared on the timeline every day by, whatever it is, hundreds of people.
I think we had them early with the MSFE challenges. We had those.
Maybe, but I feel like you're like the smallest concentric circle of like super fans amongst super fans, Steve.
Yeah.
I think that like if you try to think a little more broadly and like, oh, who's going to get the most points? That's way more understandable than like, look at this crazy challenge to get the MSFE. that's a little less easy to understand.
I agree. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just think that like that at its base, just the fact that people are now logging in almost every single day.
Yes.
They're on the platform. So you got to imagine that they're going to continually improve upon that experience of getting to that platform every day. So instead of just getting to the platform every day and just submitting your lineup, it's probably going to develop. It's probably going to be now there's going to be, I'm almost certain there's going to be some kind of a social aspect to it where now you're going to be able to interact with other people that are also playing the game. You're going to be able to, it's going to be easier to share your lineup on social media. So like that aspect feels almost like a little bit of a lightning in the bottle moment where like, wow, you caught something right now. Like this is special. Like people are doing this on their own accord. It's viral. Like right now people are doing it by taking screenshots and sharing it around and sharing it in their groups. And I just think that there's a lot more that's coming here on this game. And I think you called it out, which is like the devs are really focusing in on this. And I think you're right, but I think that it's going to be built in a way that's like way beyond what you see now. Like, I don't think it's going to be as simple as you see now. I wouldn't be surprised if in the future there might be tiers. And the last thing I'll say about like collectability for the other items, like the archive moments and the team moments and all the retired players and all that stuff. I really believe that, and I echo this on Twitter all the time, but like, I think that the lane for that stuff is the flash challenges. Like, I know that Fast Break is very popular and I think it deserves to be very popular, But I think that there's these other methods, the burning boards that they can lean into with that stuff, the flash challenges that they can lean into with that stuff. Like there's other asides that they can lean into that stuff that makes more sense for the people who are more of like the expert users of Top Shot, let's say. Whereas Fast Break, to me, it should be easy to understand for anyone. Just get to the site. I get it. Like, yeah, I can build my lineup for $5, and maybe the following week I didn't get enough wins. So now I'm actually going to start buying rares. And yeah, is it the floor rare? It is. But guess what? The floor of the 2 lowest rares are now almost the same price because the tide is rising, etc. And like over time, rares might have a floor, like a common floor of like $100 in the future. Who knows? And I think that like that's probably good for the platform. So anyway, that's my spiel.
No, I think we're mostly in agreement. But I do think the game has the chance here to sway people to different types of moments, and that's where you have to be a little cautious.
Yeah.
Even like, give you an example. We mentioned like retired players. Well, what about soon to be retired players, right? We're talking about LeBron or KD or Chris Paul or whoever. It's like, are people just going to not buy or commit to buying a legendary or a rare because maybe it's only going to be useful for this season or next season? It becomes a little, you start to, when you're buying decisions based on the game, then, maybe things can go wrong. But I do think the game could be, I don't want to say the loss leader, because right now there's no cost to play, so it's not really a loss. But I do like the idea of fast break being the foot in the door to hopefully get people more engaged in the greater platform.
Exactly.
My only feedback, or not only feedback, but the primary feedback is I still think there could be a little bit more attention given to connecting your lineup to a moment. I think there should be some connection there, because imagine hypothetically the first person on the leaderboard every night, that is like the winner leaderboard, and they maybe get a post from the social media Top Shot account with their highlight reel.
The reel. Yeah, exactly.
It's like the winner account, and every day it's like a new reel of the winner. It's like that kind of makes more sense to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be a little more thoughtful with attaching the moment to the pick, because I think right now it's just there's something missing there, and what I don't want to is people to be confused with like they're playing fast break and then they're like, wait, what's a moment? And like there's a bit of a disconnect there, and I think you could be introducing, I don't know, maybe more. You could be introducing a problem where people just don't understand moments because they've been playing. I don't know. They're not funneled to them.
What I would say to that, and by the way, we have a Twitter comment, which is a new functionality. So hello, Blazer fan, and I'm happy to see that works. You can now watch on Twitter and comment on Twitter. That wasn't something before, so that's cool. What I would say to that is, I think even though Top Shot is 4 years old, I still think, and I say this over and over again, is just like collecting NFTs is still not ingrained in culture. Whereas playing a game like a prop fantasy style game, that's way easier to understand. It's a much shorter path to like maturity, in my opinion, than collecting digital collectibles is. So like that, why when you say like the foot in the door comment, that makes a lot of sense to me. It's like, well, this pathway is super short. Like, okay, you get on the site, here's a game, you can click the players. Oh, they're grayed out. Press the button. Here's a whole bunch of $1 moments you can buy if you want to play the game. Boom. Okay. I made my lineup for $5. And then eventually, for whatever reason, now you have to sort of try to upgrade. And from there, hopefully there's some kind of bridge where people start to understand, or it starts to become more of the culture that like, yeah, it's cool to own a digital collectible of a really cool moment instead of a piece of physical cardboard that's in a plastic case in a box in my cupboard. Like that still, even after however many years, it's still not quite ingrained the way physical cards are. And who knows how long that's going to take. But the game is way easier to understand, in my opinion. So that's why like I like what you're saying about that sort of the entry, and hopefully we can get people to that other across that bridge.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, I think we're like over an hour, and I know you have a little child. Is there anything else in the chat? Any last questions for Steve that you want to ask him, and then we'll let him get back to family business.
Are you doing any giveaways tonight before we get there, or not?
Not that I know of.
Okay, let's do it. I'll do a giveaway. I got a Kevin Durant Series 4 MGLE to give away.
Oh wow, that's very generous. That's a very generous giveaway and a very
With
generous.
a decent serial number too. So it's
Wow.
Yeah.
Steve is showing up right now.
Well,
let's see.
it's for the people who stuck around to the very end, right? That's the bonus material. If you stick it out for an hour 15, you get like an NGLE.
Yeah, well, that's a very valuable moment, and it also combines perfectly with this whole fast break utility thing. Having a Kevin Durant rare is
Well, it's only
very
good for a year or two before he retires, so watch out.
I know that is true, but hopefully in 2 years from now, people will better understand collecting digital collectibles, and they won't want the physical anymore. Yeah, so you gotta like the stream, gotta like the steam also. You gotta like the stream and the steam when you open the oven and you're wearing glasses like me, and you gotta like that. If you don't like that, you're not eligible. So like the stream, make sure you're subscribed, and then we can run it. I guess we'll just do the names, or else it gets like too slow. So let me go charge that up, and you can ask Steve some questions while I'm doing this in the background. Steve, if you see anything in there that you wanna respond to, go ahead.
Sure. Anyone have any questions?
Questions for Veerman. All right, let's start collecting. All right, so you're going to do hashtag Durant. Let me share that. You're going to do hashtag Durant. Hashtag Durant if you want to be eligible for a Kevin Durant MGLE rare moment. Huge, generous giveaway from Steve Veerman. My goodness. So if you're there and you're watching on Twitter or YouTube, or you just got your headphone in while you're washing dishes, now is the time to get back on the computer or on your phone and type in hashtag Durant if you want to be eligible for this MGLE good serial Kevin Durant rare moment. And who knows, you might win Fast Break next week because of Steve's giveaways. Very generous giveaway. Make sure you have liked and subscribed. If you win and I see you're not a subscriber, I'll hunt you down. So, all right, let's see. I feel like, all right, we got 39 people, but how many people are typing hashtag Durant? Only 19. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes here.
Yeah,
I want to make sure.
I'll answer some questions. I got a question here about like the merch, like this one. Like the reality is, I thought I'd be further along, but baby takes a lot of time, so I think a lot of it's taken a back seat. So hopefully at some point I'll circle back to it. But I have seen a lot of great community members build other merch, so there's lots to check out. It's pretty great.
Yeah, like the OnlyTans fanny pack is really amazing.
There you go.
Dharma Gardner is asking a question, Steve. How many of those flash challenges have you completed? Have you done every one?
Recent, I haven't really done many of them because most of them require like burning rares or whatever, and it's like I don't really like doing that. I don't like it's burning rares, especially in legendary, is really hard for me to do. Commons is much easier.
Yeah,
but I only like burning if I have dupes, and I don't have dupes of a lot of players, so I don't like to do it.
Right. Yeah. Green Curry wants to know how much you spent on the Deck the Hoops to complete the MSFE. I'm guessing a lot of money.
I don't recall, but I didn't ever complete MSFE. It's an open set. It was the Paul George that screwed everyone.
Yeah, I remember.
And I sold it. Like I made mistakes. Mistakes were made from an account I controlled.
Yeah, of course. Bitcoin or Safe Moon?
I don't know what Safe Moon is. I'm not really like, Bitcoin's cool, but I'm not really like a Bitcoin guy. Like if I'm going to go crypto, it's going to be like Ethereum or Flow, something useful. Bitcoin just like, it feels like the MySpace of the crypto game, It's the first guy.
All these ETFs now, though, they're all like, yeah, we'll take your old money and pump it into Bitcoin.
100%. But like the devs are mostly in Ethereum. It's been like that for years. So that whole ecosystem is just much more vibrant. That's how Dapper got their start off Ethereum. So, but Flow is also pretty awesome, but there aren't as many devs. But anyways,
yeah. Dumbo's asking how long it takes your child to make your merch.
Yeah, you know what? She's got little tiny fingers, so it's really good. Some of the buttons are really small, so I've been teaching her how to like sew the button. So she's not there yet. But I still have to order some more merch for her. Eventually, she'll be decked out in Top Shot merch,
Yeah.
and she'll love it. She'll look at pictures in 10 years or 20 years. She's like, "Oh my God, Dad, this was so great! I'm so happy you dressed me up in Top Shot merch."
Yeah, thank you. All my baby pictures have metallic gold printed all over me. I appreciate
Nothing but
that.
the best. Nothing but the best, Andy.
All right, well, let's see here. 23, I guess that's close enough. 23, there's 17 of you that don't want to enter for the Durant MGLE. Your loss, guys. Here we go. Let's see who wins it. Ready, set, go. Around and round the wheel. Where will it land? Dharma Gardner.
Awesome.
Congratulations, Dharma Gardner. You are the winner of a Kevin Durant MGLE low serial moment. And you better update us with your winnings on Fast Break, and we better see that moment when you win. Right?
Yeah, if you don't lock the moment immediately, there's going to be trouble. You got to get the moment. You got to lock the moment.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, there you go, Dharma Gardner. I mean, I think it's the same username on Twitter, if I'm not mistaken.
If you could forward me the details for the Top Shot account.
Yeah. Or
sure.
Dharma Gardner, you want to just put your username in the chat so I don't have to look
exactly.
for you? That would be nice. Okay. Let's see. Let's do a little Let's Simp video because we ended with some simping.
Let's simp.
Let's simp.
Let's simp.
Let's simp. Let's simp. Let's simp.
All right. Well, there's the username, Steve. Dharma_Gardner.
Sending right now. She'll
Wow.
have it, or he'll have it. I don't know the gender. They'll have it eventually.
I'm pretty sure it's a male. I know.
Yeah.
I've seen his videos before. He's a
Dharma.
gardener.
Dharma's I don't know the name. It's I don't know. I don't know like again gender, if it's like a gender neutral type name.
Well, he might identify as a plant or no, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So anyways, congratulations, Andrew. Congratulations, Dharma Gardner. I guess that's all I got, Steve. You got any final words for the
No,
crowd?
I'm really honored that you reached out to me today. I mean, I'm sure you reached out to probably 20 other people, and I was the first one to respond. I'm fine. This is always, I love being on your show. You have a lot of great guests, and yeah, I'm happy to be. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for letting me rant about things. Hopefully, I said something coherent or worth some takeaway somewhere. But I am looking forward to the vinyls show. Hopefully it was on next week or sometime soon. And yeah, I mean, that's all I have for now. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Steve. I'm very honored that you could be on the show. Okay, it goes right back. It goes right back to you. You got to play yourself up because you're a key member, a key person with some really interesting opinions. So thank you for being here. And the people love it too. And look how generous you are too. I mean, come on, what's not to love? So thank you, Steve. And go back to that baby and hope everything goes nicely. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care.
Static Selector.